Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your mowers will practically build themselves. Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Today, well, we're going to head out to a place called Delta, Utah. I'm going to go pick up Mark and probably grab some breakfast, and then we are going to go to Delta. Now in Delta, which is kind of a remote part of the state, there is a thing called the Topaz Museum. And Topaz, well, for those of you who don't know this part of World War II history, it was an internment camp where we interred Japanese citizens, American citizens, during World War II because of Pearl Harbor, pretty much. But we'll tell you more of the story, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Topaz Museum that is in Delta. I have not been there. They've only been open a couple of years, and I know the folks who put that museum together, so I'm anxious to take a look and see what they've done. And then I'm sure we're going to go out and visit the old site where Topaz was. So we're going to go do those things. Somewhere along the way, we're going to grab some food and maybe some other adventures along the way. You never know what kind of stuff we're going to get into. So stick with us as we check out Topaz.
Well, after a nice scenic drive to Delta, we arrived at the Topaz Museum, a very nice, modern, well laid out museum. If you get a chance to go to Delta and go to this museum, I highly recommend it. They have a theater in the front, and they have these pieces of artwork and this particular camera that some actual footage was shot from inside the camp on that camera, which is kind of neat, and they show you a couple of films. They have this mosaic of the actual campsite, which we will go visit here in a minute. But I'm not going to go through everything in the museum, but we'll just kind of show you some pictures of what is there. I did find this one particular poster quite interesting here. Shows the ignorant people there at the time. What an era, I'll tell you. Yeah, interring our own American citizens out of fear. So the camp was run from September of 1942, and it closed in October of 1945. An executive order signed by Franklin Roosevelt, executive order number 9066, in February of 1942, ordered the people of Japanese ancestry to be incarcerated in relocation camps like Topaz. Folks were told to report to the Tanforan Assembly Area, which Tanforan is in the Bay Area. It's a horse racetrack, big racetrack. And from there, they boarded trains, probably Union Pacific, headed towards Los Angeles, and then from LA to Delta, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, these folks were almost exclusively from the San Francisco Bay Area, and they were sent here. You can see a layout of the camp and kind of how spread out this thing was. It was 19,800 acres is how big this whole camp was. The thing was just absolutely huge. Anyway, here is a model of one of the apartments, as they called them. They called them apartments, but they were just a one room that your family got. And I want to say there was 6 of these per building. And you had 4 cots, you had 1 light bulb, you had a place to hang your stuff, you had a stove, and you had a little place to cook. That was it. This particular building is half of one of the recreation halls, and each segment had a recreation hall. This is where they'd hold church and all sorts of other just communal activities. So again, this is one half of one of those rec halls. It's a great picture of the water tanks there at Topaz, and some other pictures of the sunrise. Just great stuff here in this museum. They had a couple of schools, and we're going to actually visit those when we go to our site tour. of Topaz. There was at any given time about 8,000 Americans here at Topaz. Wow. Now, some of them rotated out for different reasons. One of them was there were quite a few young men that served in the in World War II. There was a loyalty questionnaire in the winter of 42 to 43 that asked prisoners if they would declare their loyalty to the United States and if they'd be willing to enlist, that kind of thing. The 442nd was pretty much all Japanese-Americans that served in the European theater and was one of the most decorated outfits in American history. So yeah, there's no doubt about the loyalty of these folks. This James Wasakis, whatever I can't say it right. Anyway, this gentleman was shot and killed. James Wakasha. He was shot and killed. He was an older gentleman. He was walking close to the fence, and well, one of the guards was a little trigger happy and shot and killed him. They had quite the funeral for him there. And the folks said, look, we're not going to work anymore until you relax your rules a little bit. Anyway, that's the museum. Let's hop in the jalopy and let's head on out to the site. It starts out here in this nice rural paved road. Then it becomes a dirt road. And I'll tell you what, you think you were driving to nowhere, and you really are. Well, here we are at the area where the main gate and the main administration building was. And just on the northwest corner of this huge property is this little parking area with memorial plaques and a flag and all that kind of cool stuff. But you can actually drive the streets, and that's what we're going to do. We're starting in the northwest corner. We're going to pass Crystal Avenue. I have a daughter named Crystal. I thought that'd be kind of interesting, looking east in these pictures.
Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. I'm here at Topaz. I'm at the actual beginning of the blocks, the housing blocks. Block 1 through 42, the whole housing area was out here to the southeast of where I'm now standing. And this is where around 8,000 Japanese American citizens at any given time between 1942 and 1945 were housed and interred. So we're gonna noodle around here a little bit, do some exploring, and well, kind of check the place out.
So here's the site where Mountain View Elementary was, and boy, those mountains are in the distance, so I don't know what kind of great view that was. On the west side of the area was this sewer pumping station. Can you imagine the wind blowing? Woo-wee, that must have been quite the stench. Here we're going to head east up one of these little roads. You can see what that brings. It's supposed to be the site of one of the other elementary schools up here. And here's one of the roads heading north. Here's Desert View Elementary. Well, no duh. But I'm going to stop at this site and look, there's a lot of broken, looks like broken dishes, broken glass. Some of it's probably more modern, but definitely some of these bottles and pieces are vintage from the 1940s, on the site of where the school was. So this is up in the area where the guards and the soldiers had their area on kind of the northeast quadrant of the camp. We're going to leave Topaz and get back on the road and head towards Lindell. And we decided to take the road from Lindell over to Nephi, and along the way are these old kilns, these charcoal kilns, right next to a railroad line, which was very interesting. I think they called, there was Ibex Smelter that was right in this area. Here's the inside of one of the kilns. Never been inside or seen one of those, but it's really actually kind of neat. And the rail line headed towards Nephi. And you can see it's cloudy and nasty all of a sudden through this area, and it just poured on us. And you can see that the car, it's dry underneath, and it was just pounding this storm. But we got to Nephi, and it was nice and clear. We went to one of our favorite spots, the One Man Band Diner, and had a great lunch. And wow, what an amazing day this turned out to be. It was so much fun.
What a day. I'm exhausted. We were going to do a couple other little adventures while we were out, a couple other little towns I wanted to see, but well, we'll put that off for another time. I'm going to leave it up to you to judge how you feel about Topaz and what happened there. You got to remember that when I was a little kid, World War II was only 20 years removed, you know, and it was still kind of fresh, the era. A lot of the feelings were still kind of there. A lot of folks still remembered World War II. And now, in today's day and age, almost all of our World War II veterans are gone, almost all. And so everything you hear has got to be second or third hand, you know, passed down. So I'll let you judge for yourself how you feel about this whole thing. And thanks for joining us today. We hope you got something out of this. Hope it was educational and, well, entertaining as well. And we're going to visit some other places in Utah this summer. Stick with us, folks.